Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another The Sports U video. Today, we're starting a new series where we do single team mock drafts. Obviously, very excited. Mock draft season is starting to come around. We've done some other, obviously, full first round mock drafts doing all teams. So make sure you guys go check those out. But today, we're doing the Detroit Lions. Currently have the number one overall selection in the draft. 10-1. They look like they will probably lock that spot for the rest of the season, I think, or until the draft, or I think they're probably a lock for that number one overall pick. I said that very confusingly, but will they go quarterback, edge? We're going to go over all of their 7-round picks. They have 2 in the first round. I'm not sure how many they have in the next rounds, but looking to build a team for Dan Campbell's Church of Football. If you guys follow the channel, you'll know what that means. But as always, make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on social media, and we'll get into the draft. As always, comment any teams you guys want us to do in the comments. You guys want us to do the Jets, the Jaguars, Texans, any team, the Bucks, the Chiefs. Let us know. We'll do them. Comment them down below. As always, we respond to all comments. But let's get into the draft. So number one, and again, I did the draft earlier, but I forgot I didn't do a 7-round one, so I had to restart. This one to me, again, it's what I was saying is at the end of the year, I could 100% see them going for Matt Krause, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis. The only reason why I will not or step away from that is because Goff has had 1 year and they have that later round pick, which I think they could go a more raw quarterback. So I'm going to go Kayvon Thibodeaux. And before I pick it, because it sims all the picks and it kind of distracts me, I'm going to go Kayvon Thibodeaux. And the reason for that is because I think the Lions are at a position right now where Goff, for as much as we hate him, is not a completely unusable quarterback who cannot win any games. I think when surrounded with decent talent, like he did with the Rams last year, he can lead them to the playoffs. So I think going quarterback here would be a waste of a pick. I think you want to build around a really good edge rusher, which I think obviously Thibodeaux is. I think he's the clear number one right now. Aiden Hutchinson, though, is just up there. But again, for them, I think it's going best player available, which 100% Thibodeaux is. And what I was saying is whether you go Hamilton or Stingley, I wouldn't hate those picks. But going quarterback to me, I'm pushing the brakes on that, especially at number one overall, because it's not a great quarterback class, but it's a deep one. So I think you wait till 27 where they have here, or you trade up would make the most sense just for a Lions team that they just need players. They need talented young players on that roster. And I think getting Thibodeaux or not taking him would just be a waste. It would just kind of be robbery. And I think, letting him fall to the Jets or farther just isn't right. So I think that's what they'll go for. I think Dan Campbell's a smart coach. I think he notices, obviously, in last year's draft, you just go for the best available. Penei Sewell may not have been the best selection last year, the most smart one, but he is easily the best quarterback. So I think that is where they will go. But we'll move on to their next pick. So here's what I did. I honestly think this is the best selection. You go for Malik Willis. And with the reason I said below, you let him sit behind a guy. You let him sit behind Jared Goff, and you 100% have that quarterback room set up. Obviously, you maybe could have got him later at 33. But I think they're being safe. And to me, Malik Willis is obviously, you guys know, I've talked about him, really, really raw prospect, someone whose arm is kind of, it goes anywhere right now. But if you can really touch it up and get him to be one of those guys who can, obviously, what I've been saying about him is this guy has the upside to be a better Lamar Jackson. If you guys saw our big board video, I talked about him in depth. This guy has potential to be better Lamar Jackson. It's all about the coaching. And I think the Lions maybe don't have the best right now, but you give 2-3 years and you let him sit behind Goff. And I think it's the best pick. It's definitely an outlandish one. I think Malik Willis is someone who a lot of teams are confused about right now. Is he the right guy? Is he just a waste of a pick because he's so raw? And not to mention he plays on Liberty, who don't play the best of talents. But I think he's shown that this guy could be a fantastic quarterback. So I think they're going to bet on that. But now we'll go to their third pick of the draft. First pick in the second round. So you're getting first round guys here. So they arguably have 3 first round picks. And here comes down to, you look at what they need. So they need corners, they need receivers, safeties. Daxton Hill is here. And this is a tough one because I feel like you look at the guys who I'm looking for. Devin Lloyd, I really like. Nakobe Dean, I like a lot. Drake London's really good. But I think they're going to stack that front seven. I think Devin Lloyd will be my pick. Look, someone who is very, very jittery, someone who does get faked by a lot of another guy who I talked about in our big board video. definitely a kind of guy who is really good in the box. He has that ideal size. I believe he's 6'5", 6'6". That might be way too much. But a big linebacker, definitely a modern linebacker. And you look at what do really, really good defenses need. They need a captain on that on the defensive side of the ball. They need someone to really, just wrap their head around that defense and be the captain, and that's what good linebackers do. And I think if you are the Lions right now, it's about building a young front seven. You get Thibodeaux in there, and then you bring in Devin Lloyd, who I think brings a lot from Utah. Obviously, really, really good tackler, and just that size as an imposer on a defense that just doesn't have a lot of, they're not a very menacing defense, to say that they're not a very intimidating defense. So I think, you go and you bring in Devin Lloyd, who fell into the second round, definitely a high ranked player. And I think it makes the most sense for them. But here we have their second round pick. So here they need corners, and you're going to look at the top ones. There probably won't be much. You look at, and although it is a very, very deep corner class, they're not going to reach for Jeremy Walker here, or Kyler Gordon, guys who I'm not huge fans of. And then you're going to look at like what's the best available. And you look at Kenneth Walker of there, obviously running back, who I would have loved for them to take, but obviously DeAndre Swift is one of the only bright spots of that offense so far. And here it's really close. I mean, I would go Nick Bonito in a second. This guy, I don't know why he is so low. This guy is a first round talent. I think his size is probably why teams don't like him as much. And also Kingsley Enagbe is here from South Carolina, and he's a very, very good edge rusher. But it comes down to safeties, and here's where I'm going to go Verone, McKinley most likely, because I think they need secondary and corners. And I think he's a guy who can move into the slot, obviously at 5'11". But I think he brings a lot in terms of versatility on that defense, zone man coverage, and an Oregon team we know runs that a lot. So I think that's where I'll go for them. It's definitely a close one, because I feel like when you look at what this defense needs, they don't have that number one corner. Obviously, losing Darius Slay, Jeff Okudah just hasn't been there. Obviously, a waste of a pick, which I hate to say, but right now it does not look like that was the right selection 2 years ago. And I think you bring in kind of a versatile player where you need players who can play in several positions, because again, it's a team that just does not have a lot of talent. So I think that's what the pick would be. Now here, we've gone quarterback, edge. We've focused a lot on defense. I'm looking at what the wide receiving talent is here. Nothing really. I think we would have loved to see, which I'm really mad to see, Wan'Dale Robinson fall. But you still have Amon-Ra St. Brown, which I think is promising. And then Quintez Cephas. But I mean, looking here, there isn't much. I'm going to end up going for Kyler Gordon out of Washington. Again, it's about stacking the defense. I think playing with Trent McDuffie, they've made a good duo. And we know Washington generally pumps out very, very pro-ready corners, which I think he is. So I think that's where I'll go. But it's definitely questionable. And I think Kyler Gordon, obviously, if we look at his measurables, obviously 6'5". So, that is not the right person. I can't. Kyler Gordon, I get him. I can't hit him. I just gotta wait till our next pick is up. But again, it's as I said, a defense that needs a ton of players. And again, when we get down here, my analysis isn't as good. But for the Lions, you just need the best. How teams build and how teams rebuild is they get those late round talents who end up being fantastic. And I think he could be that, because you look at how pro ready players that come out of Washington are. You look at, obviously Trent McDuffie, Byron Murphy, two of the guys this year. And they both look really good. And I think that's where Kyler Gordon is. We look at his measurables, obviously 6 feet, 200 pounds. So he has that size. And again, I completely forgot. Obviously, very, very good special team player. But I think again, he can be a starter. They're projecting him at that. So if you can get a starter in the third round, I think it's very, very much a steal. And I think they'll be very happy with it. Again, as we get later in the draft, I do not know every player. So some players I won't be able to get in-depth analysis on. But here, I would love to see Alec Lindstrom fall. Obviously, he did not. Inside offensive line, there's not much. Cade Mays is here, which I think I'll go for. Tennessee generally pump out very big offensive linemen who actually translate pretty well into the the next level. So I'll go for Cade Mays out of Tennessee. Again, it's an offensive line that's been poor, lets up a lot of pressures. And I think for Malik Willis, who will benefit with time in the pocket, or any quarterback obviously will, I think that the Tennessee inside offensive line will do well. Obviously, guys pump out big, strong inside offensive linemen, especially. So I think that's where I'll go. We're going to get into our next picks at 176. Again, very deep edge class so far. And we're going to look what they need. So again, wide receiver is still new, which we have not addressed, which I think this is where I might go for. No, we're not going to go for anything. Obviously, they all got taken here. This is definitely this is an interesting one. I could see maybe a trade down here, but I'm actually going to go for Boy Mafe out of Minnesota. Again, I think it's going to come down to, at the end of the draft, it's going to come down to, just best available. But now we move into the 5th round of the draft. Again, still edges on the board, a lot of defense. And I think they're going to go with Tyreek Stevenson. Obviously, Miami known for pumping out pretty good talent. I'm not sure if pretty good talent. Obviously, I think they definitely, if there's going to be a team that's going to pump out a late round steal in corner, it'll be Miami. So that's where I'm going to go for them here. And again, it's coming all back down to, what do the Lions need? And that you look at that cornerback room, it just needs depth, especially for a team that's rebuilding. And look at that. The Rams have 3 picks in a row. We're going to move on to our pick 218 in the 6th round, if I'm not wrong. Bubba Bolden just goes out of Miami. Zamir White just goes out of Georgia. Josh Proctor. And we're going to get to our pick here, where again, wide receiver is still a need. And it's a very defense heavy class. There's just nothing. This is a tough pick. I'm going to go for Ellis Brooks out of Penn State. Again, wide receiver would be the pick here, but there unfortunately is not a lot. Again, Fresno State, Jalen Cropper. Again, it's definitely a top heavy wide receiving class in that 1st round, and then it definitely drops off. Here, I'm going to go for another inside offensive lineman in Ben Brown out of Ole Miss. Again, Ole Miss known for pumping out big offensive linemen, big interior guys. Oh, look at that. Reed Blankenship goes out of Middle Tennessee. He was eligible last year. But that's the pick I'm going to make. I think, again, getting offensive line, getting depth on that team, especially with injuries as of recent, makes the most sense here. We're going to look at the wide receiver position again, and we're going to go for Jalen Cropper. Again, we're going to look at his attributes, 6 feet. Again, they would have, I think going for Drake London earlier would have made a little bit more sense. So I'm actually going to go for Dontero Drummond, who I actually did like a lot last year, was shadowed a little bit by Elijah Moore. But I liked him a lot. Again, kind of the bigger receiver on Ole Miss in that kind of spread offense they run. So I think he'll fit with the lines, again, giving obviously weapons for, or not weapons, obviously since he's a 7th round pick, but giving some kind of talent. I don't even know what to say at this point. 7th round pick. I mean, there's not much to say. He probably won't be that good. That's where I'm going to go for the Lions. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. That was a mock draft. Again, I do apologize at the end. It gets a little bit boring just because I don't have much analysis on it. But don't worry. By the end of the draft, we'll know at least the first 3-4 rounds and some of the late round picks. But as always, if you guys made it to the end, do make sure to like, subscribe. I like these mock drafts more because they're a little bit shorter, a little bit more analysis on them. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Cian McDermott, The Sports Scoop. We'll see you in the next draft. Detroit Lions, do you think they can lock that #1 pick? Let me know.